In the gym and in the car, with our advice you could go far. We fuck things up and we make mistakes, and talk about our sexy dates. We host events and go to clubs, but most of all we're still in love. It's getting hard for this to rhyme, just as well, 'cause it's bed hopping time. Hello and welcome to the Bed Hoppers podcast. My name's Mr. H.
And I'm Mrs. H.
Thank you for joining us today. This is episode 162.
Okay. Does it mean something?
It does mean something. It is the one that came after episode 161 and the one that comes before episode 163.
That's a lot of talking.
It's a lot of talking and it's a lot of numbers. I'm amazed I was able to get that out of my gob.
I'm amazed anyone's listened.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate it. We've got some quality material for you today. Mostly talking about the number of the episode. All filler, no killer, definitely today.
That's me, babe.
Yeah, thanks. So before we jump into the main thrust of the episode today, life updates. How's it going, Mrs. H?
Biblically shit.
Oh, good.
It's a hellscape.
Okay, so let's break this down.
Let's wind it back a bit. It's not. Obviously, I'm very grateful that I'm still here and everyone's still okay. But this week has been a bit poop. I'm just tired. I'm genuinely tired. Life is being exhausting.
I like the way you went to a bit gold on me.
I did a little bit.
There's stuff going on at work and I'm having to work late. That's pretty much some of it, right? Lots of shit going down at work for you.
Dad's still dossing around in the hospital.
He is.
He's getting royally fed up of it.
I think it's fair to say after, 8 weeks or something in the hospital, he is royally fucked off.
He really is.
I don't know why I'm using the word royally.
No.
He's not a royal by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, bless him. But he's hopefully coming home this week.
Yeah, so he's still alive.
Yes, he is.
Which bodes well, but he is coming home with a lot more care. So,
yeah.
I mean, I think it's going to be a challenge, but at least he gets to spend some time at home.
Yeah.
And in an environment that's his own, rather than being in a hospital bed all this time.
Where there's old men showing their willies every 2 minutes.
There does seem to be that. And there was also a guy stroking a support fake cat.
I don't know what that was about. I don't know if it was like a roadkill thing or something.
It did look like it was roadkill. It was the chap in the bed next to your dad. He was stroking this. I thought it was a genuine cat for a moment. And then as we got closer...
No, it was a weird cuddly toy.
It was a weird cuddly toy, but it looked like the weird cuddly toy had been run over at some point.
My first roadkill.
It was a bit that way. But yeah, so the good news is that he's coming home. There's obviously going to be a lot of stuff that we're going to need to change to make sure that he's okay or looked after. So plenty of visits and all that sort of stuff going on. But also with work, you've had a biblically shit time of it. So you've been coming home absolutely fucking shattered.
Yes, that's about some of it.
I think that is about some of it.
I'm tired.
Yeah, you're tired. So this may well end up being a 10-minute or 20-minute episode, just while we scrape through to provide you with fortnightly entertainment to keep you busy and occupied.
I mean, fortnight has been a big part of my life over the last fortnight.
I think your days have typically been get in, have tea ready for you.
Fall asleep practically eating my tea.
Yeah, then you normally have a drink at this point because that gets you through the day, and then you play Fortnite for a few hours with Secret Stag and Secret Vixen and myself. And it pretty much, and then it's bedtime, and that's it. And then it's repeat, get up early the next day,
basically.
Go to work, have a biblically shit day, come home, have your meal with your drink, play some Fortnite, and then go to bed. And that's pretty much been the sum of it. So but we've had some minor breaks. We were able to catch up with some really good friends and go out for a nice meal, and that was really lovely. So, hey, Fresh 84, hey, it's you guys. We caught up with you recently. That was nice.
We did.
Got to sort of catch up on the gossip and see what they've been up to. I think they're off on holiday or something at some point, which will be nice. Hope they have a nice time.
PTI.
Well, there we go. Look out for them there.
Yeah, but what did I think PTI stood for?
Go on then.
Public. Wait. I can't even remember.
Was it public displays of intimacy?
Displays of indecency.
Indecency.
And apparently it's not.
It's okay.
Okay.
So this has been an interesting diversion. But yeah, so it was really lovely to catch up with them and take an evening out. But I think by the time we got to like midnight, you were absolutely dead on your feet.
Yeah, that's me.
I think that's been the way. We've also got Southampton Pride coming up, so we're really looking forward to that in
I'm
another
looking
week or
forward
so.
to it. I really am looking forward to it because it is a fabulous time of year, and it's important to me.
It's really important to both of us then that we represent the community and that we do our bit for our LGBTQ plus friends and colleagues and loved ones. And also it's a good old fun time.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
I'm really looking forward to that. But that's a good while away. Hopefully we're going to sort some work stuff out in the meantime. We're going to get your dad settled in and we're going to have time to just chill out and catch up with people and that sort of stuff. I think that's the plan, right? So let's get into this episode.
Okay.
So in our last edition, episode, whatever you want to call it, we talked a little bit about our Going Dutch adventures and talked about what we did over the course of the weekend. And then we said that we were going to cover some of the stuff that happened.
Yes, we did.
So there are a few bits. So please bear with us as we attempt to describe what's gone on, because there are a few bits for various reasons that we have to cut out.
Oh, okay.
That we cannot tell the public. So therefore, we're going to be a little bit fast and loose with this. So if it sounds like there's a little bit of the story missing, maybe there is. It could just be our really piss poor storytelling. So that's my sort of warning for how this might come across.
Fast and loose like your pants.
Fast and loose like my tongue. Woof. I like a lady with sideburns giving me something to hang on to. Well, I couldn't even say that properly. That's how bad it is at the moment. Right. Anyways, so let's cut straight into Saturday night, and we are at Fun for Two. We're in or near Amsterdam or wherever it is, and
that's the quaint windmilly one.
That's the quaint Moulin Rouge one.
Yes.
That's Saturday night. It's all really busy in there. It's really lovely. We've had some food, we've had some drinks, and we're surrounded by people that we know, which is lovely. In fact, we're surrounded by Max and Mayborn, Secret Stag and Secret Vixen.
Yeah.
Who are all going to guest feature in these stories. They're not actually on air with us. We don't have
whether they like it or not.
We don't have the budget for that kind of shit. But they're going to be talked about. So we've asked for their permission and they've said probably as long as you don't slag us off. So
I'd say if I would. I can't vouch for you. Just chuck anyone under a bus.
What? This is
under a windmill, sorry.
It's probably one of the non-working ones.
Imagine getting caught in a windmill.
Yes, let's imagine that.
Like a fast-moving windmill.
Okay.
Where its rotors are going round.
And it lifts you into the air?
That's more like helicopter-y, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I think you're confusing the two. Anyway, back to Fun for Two, Mrs. H.
Yes. Look, my mind's like a flipping, I don't know what it is.
It's like a colander full of bees.
Bees?
Yes. Buzzing around, all going in different directions.
Oh my God. That's a horrible analogy. But actually, quite apt.
Yes. Not one of those fucking bees can use a sat-nav or a map.
Now, why are you bringing my map reading into it?
Because they're all going in different directions.
Goodness me.
But anyway,
yes.
On Saturday night in Fun for Two, so at a certain point, it was getting quite late and we all decided that we were going to, because people were starting to make out a little bit, it was all getting a bit flirty, right?
Absolutely. There was lots of kissing.
Yeah.
Because we're all sitting up on the little mezzanine bit that overlooks the dance floor.
Yep.
And there was, I think at one point you gave me some kind of kissing challenge. I seem to recall.
Yep.
Yeah. And I fulfilled that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Work me.
What was the challenge?
To go and kiss everybody in our group. And originally you said in less than 60 seconds and I told you to fuck off because that was unrealistic. Not even I'm that good. I mean, you maybe. We know what you're like.
It was a quality service.
However, you gave me a challenge to make out with everyone in the group in an allotted time. So I did.
Good. How was that?
Excellent.
Fantastic.
I mean, I don't know if it was excellent for them.
No. Me standing next to you with a timer probably didn't help the experience.
No.
But actually, I think I was setting a few challenges throughout the course of that evening to various people.
Were you?
Yeah. Well,
Did you challenge?
I think I challenged Secret Vixen to make out with the lovely Max.
I think you gave her the same challenge and I had to beat her and I did.
Yeah. Did you? I don't know.
Yes, I did.
Can neither confirm.
Absolutely, I did.
Nor deny what may have happened with this.
I did.
Anyway, we all decided that actually it'd be really good to go off to a playroom.
Yeah. Now, bear in mind, we had already done a nice little circuit of the club earlier in the evening when we had a little tour. And at that point, obviously, not a lot of the rooms were in use. So it all looked quite, easy to get into these rooms. But come the time of night when we decided to go and find a room for 6 of us, turns out there wasn't much room at the inn. And by much room, I mean any room, apart from one remaining room.
Well, I don't think we explored mostly the sort of little miniature village area. I don't remember.
Because that's fairly near where we were. But no, I did go on a little recce with Mabel, and we went to look to see if we could find a room, further along where the wet facilities are, and you've got like that little bohemian bit with all the little tents and things. We went over there to have a look, and it was rammed.
Okay.
Absolutely frigging rammed. So we came all the way back and we looked at all the rooms on the way past, and they were all rammed as well. So we did go on a little circuit to try and find something a bit more suitable for 6 people, and we just couldn't find anything.
So we did end up in the little sort of villagey bit that's in there, which is kind of like I always feel that feels
it's like
a
Legoland
bit.
to me.
It is a bit, like a sort of
model village.
Yeah, it's kind of got that vibe to it, and it feels quite sort of bohemian as well.
Yeah, it's cute.
The cute little
really
doors
nice.
and windows there. Anyway, we found one room that was spare, so we all sort of jumped into this room, and this room was not very big at all.
Oh my God, it had a real slanty, funny little ceiling as well. So you could sort of more or less stand up in one part of the room, but the other part you had to lie down because you would have banged your head.
Yeah, I don't think it was any wider than like the total height of me. Like I don't think I could have laid.
How many
fully
Mr. H's could you fit in it side by side?
I reckon you could probably fit
5.
8. I'm going to say
No.
8 me's side by side.
If you weren't moving.
If I weren't moving, and
all right, and weren't standing up,
and we may have to pull our broad shoulders up a little bit.
Okay.
But I think you'd love that pile nonetheless. I mean, you'd be jumping all over that shit.
Of course, yeah.
But I think 8 me's. That gives you any context as to the size of it.
It was quite small, but it was big enough for all of us. But half of us couldn't stand up.
Now, the one thing that I do want to say is actually Max and Mabel coming along to this room, right?
Yeah.
Now, throughout the last few events that we've had, they've often been invited to the room, but they always seem to go fucking missing when it's due to be time to things start kicking off, really,
A number of times we sent a little search party out for them, and they've been nowhere to be found. Somehow been missing in action.
There's always like an incident that happens to them that means they're not
I don't know
available.
What happens to them?
So this time, I think we had people on guard duty to ensure that they couldn't disappear.
Have you got eyes on Max and Mabel?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, they were with us the whole night, to be fair, so it would have been difficult to lose them. But for once, they were where they were supposed to be at the right time in the right place, and they were in the room with us.
So we all pile into this room, and what we discover within about 18 seconds of being in there, that it is fucking hot. It's sexy, of course, but it is boiling hot.
It's really, 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 really hot. And I don't know if actually, I'm not going to say it. Mabel is always very hot. Like she runs hot.
Yeah.
Like all the time I've known her, she's always, I'm too hot. I can't wear this. I can't wear that. She was hot, and she was extra hot.
Conversely, Max is always cold, and I think that he was warm at this point, which gives you some sort of concept.
That's the barometer, isn't it?
Yeah.
If he's warm, it must be stifling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's not a short dude.
No.
Like, I don't know how many Maxes you'd get in that room side by side.
3. You'd have to do them lengthways.
Yeah, definitely. He is tall. So,
so I think, we all started playing. Now, I want you to tell me a little bit about this. What was going on?
well, there wasn't room for everyone to lie down, for one, comfortably.
Okay.
So only a certain number of people could lie down at any given time, which naturally led to the people who couldn't quite fit lying down had no choice really but to kind of be on top of people or up and around people.
Like a really sexy game of sardines.
Kind of, yeah. I've never played sardines, but is it where you're sandwiched in together in a wardrobe?
Yeah, basically.
Do you have to go in a wardrobe?
No, I think it's just I don't know if it's
Where
a wardrobe
have I got the wardrobe involved then?
Typical sardines. I mean, I guess there might be variants.
Like
I don't
in
know.
a tin?
Yeah.
Mm.
Anyway,
so some people were laying down. You were one of them. For some reason, you managed to lie down the whole time.
it's because I'm quite compact.
No, it's because you were just deciding to lord it up on the bed and lie down and have people do stuff to you.
How terrible for me.
Mm. Anyway, you were one of a chosen few that got to lay down.
I'm going to say that I didn't start laying down. I think I started kissing Secret Vixen and then she turned me around and laid me down. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to put the blame firmly in her camp.
Why not, eh?
Well, I get the sense that I'm going to take some flack later on as some of these stories develop.
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing, teasing. So I reckon that it was her that
Got to
did
take
this.
the wins where you can, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Throw the best then.
Because very quickly she started going down on me.
Very quickly?
Well,
But she quickly went down on you, or?
No, I think within not
Without
very
much
much
time
time
elapsed, right.
having lapsed. There wasn't like a level of there wasn't like super speed.
Right. Like an Olympic sport.
No, it wasn't like an
How
Olympic.
quickly can you knock someone off?
No, it wasn't like that.
All right.
But it was really hot because she was doing that.
Yeah.
And lots of really sexy eye contact, but also around the sort of peripheral vision, I could see all sorts of naughty things
What else
going on.
could you see?
Well, you were doing stuff for
What
starters.
was I doing?
Well,
Was I lying down?
I think you were making out with people quite a bit.
No.
I know this is true.
I was lying down, actually. I can tell you I was lying down because Secret Stag was going down on me.
Oh, okay.
So I was lying down at one point.
At one point. Then what else happened? Tell me about it.
So he went down on me, and with a favourable outcome.
With a favourable outcome.
You know I can't say these things.
You can say this.
Fine, he made me come.
All right.
All right. Which was no mean feat because it was fucking hot in that room. However, he did. And whilst that was happening, I was kissing Mabel.
Yeah.
I was also kissing Max.
All right.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was doing that. There was lots of kissing.
Mm-hmm.
But mainly Mabel. For some reason, I think she was just closer to me. I mean, we both nice to
the
kiss,
path
so-
of convenience.
However, I mean, you were just like carrying on constantly with Secret Vixen. And, you know, it could be because of logistics. You couldn't move around in the room. Who knows?
I think there was a point where we had like a line of space. So it was kind of whatever happened had to happen within that line of space, and there was no real movement. That's certainly going to be my excuse at this stage.
You're sticking to it. So I was lying there and I was kissing Mabel, and Secret Stag was going down on me. And I noticed some people came into the room because these doorways to the rooms weren't lockable. I think if I'm recalling this correctly, there were little curtains that you could pull across or drapes, but you couldn't shut the door. And certainly the curtains weren't particularly good at blocking things out. So you could just pull them aside anyway. And I noticed 2 or 3 people came into the room. And now, to be fair, there wasn't really much space in the room, so they couldn't go very far, but they loitered in a doorway.
There was like a little tiny, half-meter
little-
corridor, I suppose,
yeah.
before you got to like it was like a mattressy kind of floored area, basically, where we were
I
all
mean,
at.
it was nice. It was all red,
Yeah.
and there were like handy little shelves dotted around, and the light was nice. It was a nice room. It was just very small.
Yeah.
Anyway, they came in, and I was lying down, and I could see them. And I think at one point, one of our party kind of said, "Oh no, private." And so they didn't do anything or try and involve themselves, but they still hung around in the doorway for a few minutes. And I noticed that the woman standing in the doorway was really clearly turned on by what she was seeing, because she started playing with herself while she was standing in the doorway. And for a fleeting minute, I think I thought that was actually really hot. And I've never really thought about that before. We don't normally put ourselves in positions whereby we're being watched that much by strangers.
Yeah.
You know, possibly by our own friend parties, whatever, but we don't normally put ourselves into a position to be watched. It's not our dynamic, really, is it?
Not
we normally
generally.
take ourselves off somewhere private.
Yeah, I mean, my preference tends to be that I don't mind being showy in front of friends
Yeah, exactly.
or people that I am aware of. I know, albeit sort of peripherally know.
Yeah.
But I don't tend to enjoy putting on a show for people I don't know. And I think that for me stems back to probably one of the first events we went to where that old chap sort of sat
That
down and
curious
watched.
old man with his cane.
Yeah, just sat on the bed and just watched me like sort of receiving
Get
head
ahead.
from you, like, and sort of like I closed my eyes for a second and opened them, and he was like literally staring over me. So I think there is a little bit of like
Got
reticence.
PTSD from it.
Yeah, so I'm still traumatized by the creepy judder man that was at that event. But so as a result, I don't tend to go for that. But it's interesting because this really sparked something in you, because when we were chatting about it, it's something that you've mentioned a few times.
Yeah, I remember it being something that I wouldn't go seeking it out. And I'm not saying I would want that to happen a lot, but it was quite interesting in the moment to know that whatever it was that we were doing was having an effect on someone.
So what was happening to you while this was going on?
A secret stag was going down on me.
So there you are, lording it up, and then so you're getting your own sort of servicing, for want of a better phrase, and you're looking at, and then you've got your own sort of private audience.
Yeah, and I think for one moment I kind of like made eye contact with the lady. I found that quite nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was going on in your head at this point?
Well, as you know, my preference, if I was to look at pornographic stuff, would be anyway to seek out the voyeuristic kind of porn anyway.
Well, or tentacles, either one.
Voyeuristic tentacles, very niche.
Tentacles with binoculars.
Well, I mean, the tentacle thing is a separate thing. It's nothing to do with voyeurism, okay? That's just a separate thing.
I was aware of that.
Right, cool. However, my tendency is probably to seek the voyeuristic kind of being watched, seeing something you're not supposed to, kind of clandestine stuff.
Yeah.
As opposed to just watching people fuck. That's not really something that appeals to me. So I think it kind of it brought out that part of my mind that goes into the fantasies and the imagination of what it's like to be watched or watch someone.
But where you lying there thinking, oh, I wish I was there so I could watch me being.
Oh, I wish I was standing by the doorway. It's really cool over there. I bet it's like 80% less humid.
There's a slight breeze.
There's a little breeze coming through the curtains. She could waft the curtain. No, and I wasn't really interested in the bloke that was stood next to her. Particularly, it was mainly the woman that came in the room that started masturbating. That kind of,
and that's quite rare, I suppose. You don't often, like, if you go to a club and there's
you tend to think of a dude, and I apologise if this is just given a blanket kind of, aspersion on things, but it genuinely is seen a dude jerking off. Yeah. Watching people in an orgy room. Maybe you don't normally hear about or see women doing that.
No.
And I enjoy that. So that really turned me on.
Okay, cool. So is that
and
something?
I think Secret Stag might have clocked it as well. Well, I think he must have done, because
If
I
he
think
did,
I told him.
I think I heard him say. Was it like Kenny from South Park?
No. And mysteriously, you can always understand what he's saying, but no. I think he did clock that as well. But to be fair, we share many a secret squirrel talk about watching and things anyway, so he could probably relate to it. However, we didn't invite them to stay in the room, and we kind of shooed them out because
literally with a shoe.
No, it'd be a clog because we're in Holland.
Okay.
However, it wasn't a room that we wanted other people in. So
it's not a room that could have fit other people. It was really designed for 4 tops, I think. Not 4 tops, because that would be really strange. Not the 4 tops or 4 tops, because you'd need some bottoms
some
in
live
there.
music as well in there.
Exactly. But so we kind of moved them onwards. And what happened next with you?
I'll tell you what happened next.
Tell me for why.
I then decided it was fucking hot lying down, so I decided to sit up a bit. And then I switched around a bit, and I think Mabel went over and started giving Secret Stag some attention. Mm-hmm. And so I turned my attention to Max.
Okay.
And I went down on him.
Oh.
Yeah.
How very naughty of you.
Well, maybe. It was very naughty. Yeah. Well, he seemed to enjoy it.
He certainly did seem to enjoy it. So did you see what was going on with me at this point?
I did think that. Well, I mean, I'm always vaguely aware. You and Secret Vixen playing is not a new thing for me anymore. And so I'm probably less needing to keep looking over at what you're doing when we're in a group play situation, because it's generally speaking the same pattern of things. Like, you go down on her and she goes down on you and you fuck each other, and yeah.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of those things was happening, right?
I think that pretty much is what happened. So I started to fuck her
right.
from behind. But I think because of the space, because she's a tall girl, so, and there was not much space in this area. So I think there was this really awkward kind of over the top of people kind of thing going on.
Yeah, maybe.
There was quite a lot of sort of spreading out, but you couldn't really get any. There was no room to work at all. So we just
no purchase
at
Roy
all.
bloody purchase.
So I do remember sort of at one point splaying out over somebody, which was quite funny.
For you or for them?
Everyone involved. I think everyone enjoyed themselves. Right. But ultimately, it was like this really hot scenario where all of this stuff was going on, and you could see sort of because the lights were really. They were like sort of dark reddish and purpley, and because it was quite hot, it did feel quite hot and steamy, and it was this real sort of sexy moment.
Definitely.
So I think that kind of we sort of wrapped things up.
Maybe because we were all going to die of heat. Talking
of wrapping things up.
Oh, gross. You are disgusting.
I'm not disgusting.
You
right?
absolute bin troll.
Well, so Secret Vixen is standing up at this point. We've all been done, and I've literally taken the condom off, and I've had a wet wipe and cleaned myself up because not a monster and all this sort of stuff.
You and your bloody wet wipes.
I don't like being sticky. It's just
I know.
It's like a thing, isn't it? So I'd already disposed of the wet wipe, and then she like holds her hands open to throw something in the bin. And I'm like, "Are you sure?" And she's like, "Yeah." So I think she means the condom. So I chuck it is tied up. I mean, there's nothing going to be getting out of it. And then she absolutely freaks at the fact that it's the condom, thinking it was actually going to be the tissue.
Hoying a used condom at her. I mean, not many men get to say that they've like chucked a used Johnny at Secret Vixen, but fine.
This is true. But I did check, but she'll claim vehemently that I didn't. But it's a whole thing.
Did she catch it?
She did, but I think
it's even worse.
It was disposed of.
So once you participated in the group sports,
yeah,
throw the condom to each other.
So then we all sort of made our way down to the wet area. Not long after that,
it was really, really, really hot,
and it was hot.
We had to go and get some air,
air and cleaned up and some drinks, and just generally sort of chill out. Though why we decided to chill out on a hot tub. I mean, at this point, I think, because this was our second night out in a row, it was quite late. It was really steamy and warm. It was kind of dark in there, and we all jumped in the hot tub. And I think we were all sort of starting to fall asleep, possibly with the exception of me, because...
Definitely with the exception of you. You were absolutely, we could start something else. I was like, don't you fucking dare. It's late and we're dead. So pack it in.
Okay. And that's exactly what happened. So that was kind of the first night that we wanted to talk about. I think for me the really interesting bit was it was really nice to be in that room all together as a group. I think your sort of experience of people watching has certainly sort of triggered something that's made you think about it, and might be something that you want to explore perhaps lightly in the future.
Maybe.
Don't worry, we'll get your OnlyFans sorted out pretty soon.
No, we know that's a lie.
We both know it's a lie. You have not the effort in you, and I have not the want in me. So it's not going to be a good combo. I mean, we can barely
squeeze no want and no effort.
Yeah, we can barely squeeze a podcast out every 2 weeks. So that getting some video content done is far beyond us.
We'll be barely fans. The new offshoot of OnlyFans.
That'd be Wookiee fans, but that's a different thing altogether. So that was the Saturday night, which is one of two nights that we wanted to talk to you about. Now, the second night...
Oh, yeah.
Or second day is something that we wanted to talk about, which was our sort of Sunday afternoon at Fata Morgana.
Yes.
Now, if you don't know, we talked about it in the last episode, and if you've not heard the last episode, go back.
Don't work for them. Make them go and listen to it.
All right.
I'm joking.
So,
yes.
Fata Morgana, we arrived there just gone 2:00 in the afternoon for what was supposed to be a pool party.
Yes.
And we all chilled out in the, we say all. So 4 of us chilled out in the pool, and 4 of you decided that you were going to sit on the sun loungers.
Like sensible people.
Like sensible people, because the pool was like -3 degrees or something stupid like that.
I didn't even put my hand in it. Was it really cold?
It was penis shrivelingly freezing. It was absolutely chill. At certain points when the sun came out, and it was because the sun wasn't always out, it warmed up a little bit and it was quite pleasant if you were sort of did the half in, half out thing. But actually, if you didn't move for very much and you didn't, and you sort of didn't think about it, the cold could creep up on you. But the good thing, I suppose, not so much in hindsight perhaps, was that being in the pool and not getting out because you don't want to get out and get back in because it'll be even worse, but that people were bringing us drinks or bringing me drinks, including the infamous Negronis that Max and Secret Vixen were making.
Those Negronis.
So I think it's safe to say that throughout the course of the day, I was starting to get perhaps a little bit tipsy.
You think?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. I mean, I wasn't completely slurringly blottoed, certainly at this stage, but I was certainly well on my way to having a happy, merry old time. Is that fair? I think that's fair.
That's very fair. The other thing is probably worth noting for my benefit is when we got there, we had something to eat, but not very much. Or I didn't have very much to eat because there wasn't much I could eat.
Yeah. So, one of the things about clubs in the Netherlands is that when you purchase your ticket, you get your drinks and your food included.
Which is lovely.
Which is great.
I really like that.
However, it's less good if you're having to cater for a gluten intolerance or a celiac diet or avoid certain things. So we got there for what would have been like a later lunch. And actually, there really wasn't very much other than some salad and some ice cream that you could eat.
That's a really weird combo.
Well, not on the same plate, of course.
Well, no,
I'm not
but I
a
ended
monster.
up having a very small amount of salad because that was safe, and then 2 scoops of ice cream, and that was my lot. I couldn't really have anything else.
And I think because of the previous night, you'd actually had a bit of a gluten attack where you'd eaten some...
A mini one
where you'd had some stew or something that clearly had some thickening agent in it. You were reticent.
I didn't want to risk it.
You didn't want to risk it. So you kind of avoided some of the stuff that would be ordinarily sort of a bit borderline, like nachos and stuff, where you're not sure.
Yeah, but the rest of it was pasta, which was definitely not.
Yeah, definitely not gluten-free. And there wasn't really like any big bits of meat or anything on there that you could have. So you couldn't even sort of protein up.
No.
Because often when these sort of places, certainly at Fun for Two, they had like steak and chicken that you could just chuck on a griddle and you were fine because what's been on there and that there's no flavourings or anything that are going to upset your tummy.
But it did have a nice big sign that said there'd be another food service-y type thing a bit later in the evening.
Yeah, I think it said like 8 o'clock or something like that.
Yeah, it was about like, I think from 7 till 8 roughly, or thereabouts.
So anyways, let's keep that in the back of our minds as we proceed with this. I sense that you're going in for the kill here on this conversation slightly. But anyways, so... We end up coming inside and going in the bloody great big hot tub, which was amazing. It's really
fabulous.
warm, really lovely. And we ended up sort of bobbing along in there and chilling out on there and on the beds that are right next to it. Because there's all these giant beds that sort of face it. Yeah. And you can converse between the two. And so I was sort of bobbing around in the hot tub. And then we started chatting to a lovely couple who'd sort of come along because they'd heard that we were coming to Fata Morgana.
Yeah.
And they were really nice. So I was chatting to them and their sort of dynamic certainly seemed to be a little bit more hot wifey. Mm-hmm. And I was sort of, spending some time with her, I suppose, to a certain extent. Is that fair?
Oh, that's very fair.
What more would you like me to say on that front, dear?
Every time I looked up, you were indeed bobbing along.
Well, at one point, because we were talking a lot about Star Trek, which is one of my nerdy passions. And it was really fun just chatting to them about Star Trek and stuff.
Yeah.
And at one point she was sat in my lap. Then at another point she was making out with me.
What part of Star Trek was that covering? Sorry.
That was First Contact.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'm so pleased with this.
Yeah. Did you engage?
Yes, I did engage. But I did not do a number 1 in the pool. You're right there.
Would you say you were Picard?
Oh, dear. So... I think what I was starting to sort of recognize that I was really sort of enjoying that company, but actually that we hadn't really discussed anything about this.
Oh no,
I know, and I think I just kind of got carried away with the moment, which is a thing that may pop up in a minute as well when I explain the next sort of thing that happened. So they were lovely, really friendly, but actually I could sense that I was being called back to spend some time with my wife.
Oh, hello. It's me.
I remember
Sorry
you.
to be so bothersome. I'm here.
Well, it's important to state, so our dynamic isn't that we go and do separate things,
No.
which I think, I think we've kind of pushed the edge on that sometimes.
Yeah, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with comfortably exploring and pushing that boundary as long as we're in agreement and we talk about it.
Yes, and this was not the time to do that, and certainly wasn't the case where we were going to do that.
No. However, I was having a perfectly lovely time. Nothing naughty was going on. I was just lazing around on one of the kind of beds that were next to the hot tub, and I was just lazing around with Secret Vixen and Secret Stag, who was in and out of a hot tub, to be fair, because he's always in a bloody hot tub.
Well, he likes hot tubs and Star
getting
Trek.
pink eye. Yeah.
So it was a pure good combo for him.
Yeah, he was straddling with tea. And I was also chatting away to Max and Mabel, who were on the big, and it was a really, really big bed. It was kind of like all around the perimeter of the hot tub. So you could just like lie around on there, and there's like big cushions.
That bed was bigger than the room we were in the previous night.
Yeah.
It was like twice the size of that room.
It was huge. It was really, really lovely. We were just like lying around with like towels, like kind of like a spa, really. Like when you just got out of a hot tub and were laying around in dressing gowns and towels. And it was really, really chilled. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I really needed this downtime, this like relaxation. And we were just chatting for a couple of hours about everything, just idling away the time together, having drinks and just chatting. There was no funny business, but occasionally I'd look up and be like, oh yeah, I see what he's doing over there.
Throughout this time, though, I do recall that Mabel was bringing drinks to the side of the pool.
Very attentive.
Not that
host.
I'm blaming her at all.
Mm.
But did she have a phrase? I think it was like
Sippies.
Sippies. There we go.
She treated us like a load of little dolphins. And it was almost like she'd call us over and be like, ah, 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 ah. And she'd go, Sippies. And we'd all line up like little dolphins, and she'd like give us all a straw. It was quite amusing. So she carried on just popping off and getting drinks every now and then. However, I also drank loads of water because I was lying around on this bed, and I was quite hot in this humid environment, so I kept thinking, I'm just going to top up on water as well. So I think I was probably way less along that drunken curve than you were.
Well, I think so. I'd had the super drinks prepared for me earlier and had the sippy drinks. And also at that moment when you get into a hot tub and you've had a few drinks, it kind of goes to your head a bit, doesn't it? It kind of exasperates the problem. So I don't think drinking water would have particularly...
Might have helped a little bit.
Might have helped a little bit. But
for science,
stopping and getting out and drinking some water probably would have been a better solution than not drinking the water.
Alas, you didn't.
Alas, I didn't. Anyway, I finally make my way back to you.
Yeah.
And the bed. And it's lovely. Everyone's chilled out. It's really cool. Everyone's in a happy space.
Yeah, everything was great.
Yeah.
There was a big bunch of people next to us, most of which I think we kind of knew who they were, but they weren't kind of part of the sort of other little group because we were chatting about stuff. But they were next to us, and that was all lovely. And they all started playing amongst themselves. And then the sort of four, kind of six of us, just kind of things started happening again on our side of the bed. So I think from memory, me and Secret Vixen were lying around on one bit, and then you and Secret Stag were kind of there as well. And things just started getting a bit naughty again.
So I think Secret Vixen and I started having a bit of a conversation.
Yes, that was it.
And one of the things is that she'd never actually gone down on you before.
No.
So, pure circumstance, I guess. But I suggest now would be an absolute opportunity to remedy this situation.
And what was going through your head when you decided to say that?
Escalation.
Just purely wanting to escalate.
We're not wanting to escalate, actually. It was a really wonderful conversation, but it was also tinged with that level of naughtiness that I'm like, this is fabulous. Mm-hmm. I am the whisperer at this point. and I think we were just sort of just giggling along and just kind of being kind of playful with stuff.
Yeah.
And so I suggested that, but also I sort of decided that I was going to show Secret Vixen, sort of how I do it with you, and we were both going to sort of do it together for a period.
Mm.
How did that go?
It was bloody brilliant.
How terrible, two people going down on you at once.
Oh, I know, shocking.
How awful.
Well, I was surprised, and as much as me and Secret Vixen have played together in the past, it's always been in our group setting. And I've always been very clear that I'm very, 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 very bisexual. I'm very into ladies, but I never assume that someone else has the same level of interest as me. And I wouldn't ever expect someone to do anything, just to either because they think that's what they want or because they're trying to please somebody. And so I'm always so nervous, I think, or cautious. And I just wanted to make sure that, no, you don't have to do that. It's fine. I wouldn't expect anyone to go down on me if they weren't sure, But anyway, as it happens, everything was fine. And you were both just cracking on. I thought, okay, cool, if you're both happy. And it was really, really nice. It is, you were kind of whispering bits to her and then you were showing her yourself and then she was doing what you were doing. And I was like, oh, this is great. I didn't actually climax. Okay. There was a lot going on, but it was really hot. And I think in a more private setting, I think that would have been even more hot.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And then what happened, dear?
What happened next? Let's see. So then I think, I was actually doing lots of kissing as well at this point with Secret Vixen once she came back up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because she said very nice things to me afterwards.
Okay.
Which was very, very sweet. And she was really, she went out of her way to kind of reassure me that I have no need to be so hung up on things, about how I look and things and how I feel I look.
Okay.
So it was really, anyway, that was really sweet. I really enjoyed it. Anyways, and then it was getting to the point where I think you and Secret Vixen had this, you went away again for having a little kissing.
By away, I think we
just
were
towards the end of the bed. You were still in sight.
Yeah.
But you were just kind of, I couldn't hear what you were saying, is what I meant. You were out of my earshot. So you were having a little conversation.
We were having a little conversation. I think we wanted to escalate things.
Right.
And we didn't really want to do that on the bed that was there. I think we wanted to go to a separate room and play.
Okay.
So
do it all together.
All together. So we tell you in Secret Stag that this is kind of what we're planning on. And I think at this stage you were probably a little bit incredulous about it given the time. But I was a bit intoxicated, I think it's fair to say. And also I was like, hey, we're going to go and do the naughty thing now. So this is great. This is an adventure. Off we go. And it's a different room. And those rooms look really exciting and they're really cool and all this sort of stuff. And in my head, I'm thinking, yay, playtime. Like more playtime. This is great. What I didn't really pick up on, I think is fair to say, is one, how hungry you were.
Right. I mean, we can come back to that in a second.
Because I don't think, we may have had that conversation, but it wasn't as strong as perhaps I needed it to be. I think we didn't really have a conversation between ourselves. I think it was just whisked along for the ride of it.
It was a kind of like, we've decided this now, come with us.
Yeah. I think
it felt like that.
I think it was a bit of that. I think we got, certainly I got a bit carried away with the moment. It's like, yeah, let's do this. It's going to be great. We can do this. We can put on a show for you and Secret Stag and it's going to be great. And all of this kind of stuff, which seems like a great idea when you are 8 pints of Negroni or whatever it is down and you're feeling sexy and you've been in this great environment. And so off we go, trot to this room.
Did you know what time it was at that point?
No, I had no idea what time it was. I honestly felt it was like 5-6 o'clock in the evening. I had no concept of time whatsoever. And no one had actually mentioned the time to me that I can recall.
Did you see the big clock?
No.
Okay, cool.
No.
There was a big clock right over the hot tub.
Because, I probably would have taken my glasses off being in the hot tub.
True.
So chances of me being able to clearly see it, that's my excuse. It was steamy. Who knows? I probably wasn't that aware of it. But what I should have sensed is that you hadn't eaten. Because the thing is with eating is that I can go without food for a period and last a lot longer without eating, particularly if I'm driven to go and do naughty things.
Or if you'd eaten more lunchtime.
If I'd eaten more lunchtime, yes. But generally, you don't cope very well if you've not eaten at a regular point in time and you've had a substantial amount of, I say substantial, but the right amount of food.
Yeah, that's fair.
So we go to the room and I think it descends into this bit of a Secret Vixen and Mr. H show, and you and Secret Stag sort of sit on a bench and sort of watch for a bit, and it goes on and it goes on. And I mean, it's incredibly hot. I'm really enjoying myself. It's really sexy.
Good.
But I think it's fair to say that I am lost in the moment. And I have no real concept of time, generally anyway, but actually I do. Time is a real stickler for me most of the time.
I know, right?
But not when I'm drunk.
But not when it's your fuck show.
Yeah, exactly. And it descended into a bit of a show. Now, what I didn't really pick up on was how annoyed you were because you were hungry, because the place was about to close, and because I was just taking too long in general and sort of being a bit indulgent with the whole thing.
Yeah. Do you know how long you were actually having your I Am Fuck show?
If I think about it, I think it was probably about 45 minutes, but you seem to think it's like 2 hours.
It was about 2 hours.
I see. I don't think it was.
But it really was. It really, really, really was. Do you know how I know that?
Because you looked at the big clock.
Because I looked at the big clock before we started, and I looked at the big clock when they were mopping the floor outside the room, and it was 10 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm both ashamed and proud at the same time.
I can laugh now.
Yes, you can laugh now, but at the time...
At the time I was less than
I think
amused.
at one point you left the room to see if you could go find
I left twice.
Some food and to see what was going on.
Yeah.
And then you sort of came back
and went, the food is gone.
Yes. And
the food has gone.
And at a certain point, I did stop and recognise that I was in trouble. Purely because I could sense it from the way that your teeth were grinding.
Was it because that lovely opulent warm room suddenly turned into Narnia when I entered the room again?
Yes.
Do you know what time it is?
Yes, there was a level of that. I think, I think looking back, I was just really carried away in the moment. And I think this is something that we can probably talk about, is kind of that how much attention and sort of do you give to your play partners?
Yeah.
How much do you lose yourself to that moment without forgetting that your partner exists?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we had a really good chat about the next day. And I have to add that we absolutely were fine, resolved it. All is well. It really is. And I love you dearly. I was really cross in the moment mainly because of the hunger. Had I not been so hungry and it was just a case of the time making a fool of us kind of thing, I would have probably been less angry. I think because I was feeling so ropey by that point.
The path should have gone at the point where I suggested going to the room. What we should have said is, we're going to go back, grab some food, and then go back to the hotel and carry that on, because
absolutely
I think the timing wouldn't have been problematic.
No, not at all.
But as a result of you being hungry, and as a result of me being sort of drunk and carrying on for ages, and then being not left at the club, but being pretty much the last people in the club.
We were the last ones.
I don't know that we were the exact last ones, but we were close
pretty much in the top 5, I think.
In the last 5, bottom 5 to leave.
They were mopping the floor as we were leaving. Well, I was like, okay, bye.
But it's really important. I want to stress that I had a really fun time with Secret Vixen. And it was really sexy, but also I really recognised that I got lost in that moment. And it's a really difficult one, because I think often I feel like I can't, or I don't sort of give in fully to the play partners that we have, because there is a moment of connection that we have, that we share, that I don't want to lose.
Okay.
As a result, I sometimes feel like we're not kind of totally present within the moment that we're having with our play partners. Do you know what I mean?
Because you're giving your thing about someone else.
Well, yeah,
but surely you should be thinking about someone else, because they're your primary partner.
They are your primary partner, but if you're playing with somebody, you want to do the best that you can and enjoy that moment.
I don't disagree. I just wonder, that's a difficult one to navigate, really, because you always have to have in your mind that your partner is surely your number one.
Well, they are. But at the same point, if you're playing with somebody, do you not owe it to them to give them the attention?
Not at the expense of your partner's happiness, I would say.
And I don't think I'm saying this at the expense of your partner's
No.
happiness. I think it's the point at which mentally do you draw back from that experience. And I know there's been times when you've been playing with people where I probably didn't exist for a moment or two for you. Is that fair? There's certainly been times when you've been playing and you're lost in the moment. And certainly, for example, at the time when we had one of our sort of worst meets that we've spoken about previously, and you were there forever and a day doing this thing and totally oblivious to what was going on with me. And
Kind of. That situation a little bit. I remember the one you're on about.
yeah.
But I think because at the time I thought you were okay because I misunderstood or misread your signals at the time.
Equally, I'd say that night, not that I'm justifying the Sunday evening or whatever, but I thought you were okay. I thought you were all right because you're with me, you're present in the room.
Uh-huh.
If you want to join in, you'll join in. If you want something, you'll say. So I kind of lost myself in that moment. And it's not often that I do lose myself in a moment like that. And I think, there's some occasions where you do that. And I don't think anyone ever does it to hurt their partner.
No.
But I think there is a thing around how much you give your play partners and where that line is before you sort of pull yourself back and go, oh, they're over there. I should remember them. And is it all the way constantly through your play experience? Or is it when you get to the end and you come up for air and you go, hey, it's you. Oh, you're great, aren't you? I love you. Because what is the line? Do you see what
I do. I think this is an interesting one though, because when you're playing with somebody, do you not, is part of your pleasure not to see their pleasure as well, maybe?
But when you're playing with somebody? Well, yeah, and this is what I'm saying. It's not about, it's more about how much of your actual real partner do you sort of dismiss in your head when you're playing with somebody else? How much focus do you give to your play partner versus the strings, if that's what it is, the invisible links to your real life partner? Do you...
Yeah, so I think maybe when you first start out with all this, I think there's probably more of a concerted effort to keep those links really strong. Like you might reach for your partner's hand, or you might want to make eye contact with them when you're playing with your other partner. And all those things kind of play across your mind, I think, a lot more sharp focused, because you don't want them to think or feel like they're left out. And I think when we had the initial conversations about playing with other people, one of my biggest fears, and I think probably one of your biggest fears at the time, was what if you find you're into someone more than you are into me? And it's certainly something that I think a lot of couples must ask themselves when going into play situations. They might be, oh my God, but what if you end up forming an attachment or an emotional connection to your partner that I then become wary of or jealous of? And I'm not saying that's happened in this particular example, but what you're kind of saying is I gave myself totally to that moment. And I think that's the first time I think you've openly admitted that that's kind of what was happening.
Yeah, I think, well, no, we've talked about this a lot, and I think it is about being lost in that moment. And I think there's times throughout the course of our our conversations, for example, where we've talked about, I don't know, it's a separate room play.
Right.
Now, how do you keep the strings to your partner when you're by yourself with somebody else?
Can't hold a hand outside the door.
Yeah, because what we've often talked about is the physical representation of those links rather than the emotional connections, because who knows what's going on inside of each of our heads at any given moment. Right.
And I suppose if you asked a more hot wifey couple what they do, then they might use technology or FaceTiming or taking pictures and sending it to one another, those kind of links. So the links are still there.
But the interesting bit, talking about hot wife couples, is often they want their wives, for example, the husbands want their wives to have that lost in the moment.
But they also don't want...
They don't want to lose their wife.
Right. And this, again, it's a really fine line, because we've also heard people talk about, but it's kind of like, I don't know, fly casual, Chewy. You're like, don't do it too much, because I don't want to lose you, but you need to find a way to still keep me there whether that be sending me X amount of pictures or FaceTime me X number of times. But if you don't do enough, then the moment's lost, and I'm going to feel jealous and worried and hurt. And in the same way, in this particular scenario, in that particular room at night, I don't think I was particularly annoyed that you were lost in a moment, although I could see you were, actually, in hindsight. I think I was more upset because you failed to notice my emotion.
Yeah.
Maybe in that time. And I'm really happy that you were so connected with someone that you did have a chance to be lost in that moment, and that's all great. But I think I was more upset that, yes, I was feeling not great. I was getting really cross. I was giving you clear signals about X, Y, and Z, and you just failing to notice that. And I think that's what probably hurt me more.
I agree. And, and we've talked about this a lot.
But I think that's that whole perfect storm like we talked about with the alcohol and the heat and the tiredness. I
think, in hindsight, like I said, I think the thing to do would have been for us to have a conversation before we went to the room.
Yeah, totally.
But we didn't do that for whatever reason. And I think probably because you thought, it's only going to be 5 minutes and he'll be back.
Do you know what I actually did? I actually thought when you went off to the room initially, I was like, oh, okay. Actually, I'm okay with this because although it's not ideal timing, I think this will be fine because we'll be there and it's all going to, we just want to go to the private room so we can all finish in a nice way.
But I think, but the reality is I have no concept of time from that day and night. And I think part of it is being in the club during the day. I think that was a bit of a weird one.
It was like casino time.
It was. Once you were inside, you had
artificial air or whatever it was. I don't know.
Because I have no idea what time we actually went inside in the first place.
Mm.
The fact that we were there at 2:00, which was a strange sort of time in the afternoon, my internal body clock, which is normally really fucking good, because and normally I'm super aware of when you're going to be hungry and when you need a drink and all this sort of stuff. Normally it's pretty good for me. I had no concept of any of this. And I think when that was taken away from me and I'm like, oh, we've got a moment that we can go and like have an adventure, then that just any of remaining stuff of that went out the window, but also my ability to pick up on those cues from yourself. And I think because we hadn't had that conversation, that actual discussion about it, I think I was just like, honestly, if you asked me like, how long did I think we were in there? I would have sworn no more than like 45 minutes because time just went like that. But that's the problem because you're in a dark place, you've been there all day, you've been drinking, and your ability to go through these things properly is not there. But, it's been one that we've talked about, as you might imagine, gentle listener, quite a bit.
Yeah, totally. But it was important to talk about it. And, I think we resolved it pretty rapidly. And I needed to get some food. And then when we left the club, we had another painful experience trying to find me food.
Well, we went out and into the deepest, darkest depths of Netherlands and found you a Burger King with the shittiest server known to man.
Terrible.
However, we did manage to get you food, which was the important thing.
We did.
I think there is something in that conversation though around how much do you lose yourself and your partners? And I'm really interested to hear what listeners have to say about it. Like, how much do you accept that the playtime is the playtime, and that it's almost like, okay, you've got your moment that you can throw at particularly if you play separately, that you throw at the situation, and then when you return you're back to your partner? Or is it that you have these mental links all the way through? Do you ever fully give yourself to somebody else? Is that a thing that happens? I mean, it's because it's certainly not felt as though there's been many occasions where I've really felt like I'm truly lost in that moment.
Right.
And I think, that it'll be interesting to see what other people have kind of experienced in that particular dynamic.
Yeah, I think that is an interesting one. And I think, as I said, the worry, I think, for me would be, at what point do you reveal how much you want to get lost in a moment at the risk of losing that connection with your primary partner?
But is it necessarily a risk? Because you're not doing necessarily anything massively different other than allowing yourself to enjoy that moment. Because that's all it really is.
That.
And for you to, for example, for you to be able to actually get there, for you to come, you have to donate a large chunk of mental capacity and, you know, and a bit of a process to get there, right?
You make it sound like I lose brain cells when I come.
Well, the banging your head on the table afterwards probably explains
Are you counting again, dear?
Yeah, exactly. But I think there is something in that you do have to give a piece of yourself.
Yeah, no,
to be able
I have
to
to
get
disconnect
there.
from
You have to-
reality
yeah.
to some extent. Yes.
Yeah, and go back to all that tentacle porn that's stored in your head, your head hard
Otherwise,
drive.
if I allow myself to be distracted by what's around me,
Rum.
what's around me, and I get myself all sort of, no, I can't focus, and then I have to start again, and then I worry. And so you're right, I don't have the emotional bandwidth in my head to do that if I'm still thinking about something else. So I do know there has to be a level of disconnect.
Yeah.
On some level. I get that completely. But I think it just needs to proceed with caution, maybe.
What I'm not
if
saying,
you're going
though,
to have those discussions around how much do I want you to go into this?
well, I think what I'm not saying is that I've lost myself in love, or that I'm loving, you know, a partner, or, you know,
Right.
not to say that we don't love Secret Stag and Secret Vixen, you know, as we do, but I'm not in love with them. And I
Right.
think that's a real difference.
Yeah.
And I'm not suggesting that's what I want from a play session, or indeed that I'd want this for any, you know, for every particular play session. But it is a consideration of how much do you lose yourself in that connection whilst it's happening, because it ultimately is. I mean, you can argue it's just connected sex, I suppose.
But then we've talked in the past about that whole line of, you know, polyamory and polylight and that kind of, and I think what we've had with some couples definitely is more than just sex, more than just group sex, because essentially that's what swinging is, isn't it? Is having group sex or sex with other people.
Yeah.
So, and I think what we've shared with some people is definitely more, but how far along that kind of spectrum do you go into the realms of, you know, relationships and emotion and polyamorous?
But that
concepts?
you are taking that to another level again.
Of course.
What I'm talking about is just,
you're straying into it a little bit though at some point.
I'm not sure that I am. I'm not sure. Is it that I've just been ultra cautious about letting myself enjoy something too much?
But haven't you said in the past that in order to enjoy something to the level that you do, you have to have a bit of an emotional connection to do that?
I think you do.
Like, I mean, could you lose yourself in a moment with someone you met for the first time and then had sex with?
Probably, but I don't know.
Maybe you're losing your wallet. You're getting confused, babe. How much can you emotionally or physically give yourself to a moment on that level if you only just met someone?
I think there is always.
Does there not have to be some level of emotional connection for that to happen?
I think there needs to be a level of connection. How much emotional connection there needs to be, I don't know. But I don't know, because this isn't something that I've gone about throwing myself into with wild abandon with every partner that I've had. And I think it was just a rare moment where I lost myself in that space. And it might have just been pure circumstance that's caused that moment. But it is an interesting one about how much you apply that to other people and how quickly you could develop that connection, or whether you develop that connection with just anybody. Is it that it's simply a case of whether you let yourself go and sort of not worry about your partner, because that's all it really is, I suppose, to a certain extent. And the test, I suppose, is whether they're there at the end of the point where you wake up and come round again.
Oh no, they've left.
Well, no, not so much whether they're physically there.
Oh no,
but
she's returned with a shoe. Why is she throwing it at me?
Exactly. But it's that, you know, is the connection still there?
Yeah.
And I've found that the connection is always 100% there. And the connection was absolutely there when I opened my eyes at that point, because you were there, stood there like you were about to smash my fucking head in.
Do you know what I'd done in that time when I left the room a second time? I left the room a second time. First time I went round, did a circuit, looked for signs of food. There were none. It was all gone. several people kindly broke the news to me. I was like, okay, went and cried. Cool. Went back up to the room. Still going. Brilliant. I'm going to leave the room again. So I did. And I announced it. I was like, I'm leaving the room now. So I left the room again. Went downstairs. And I gathered all our stuff. I gathered all our swing bag, our clothes, which had all fallen behind the bloody bed, and swearing away, like picking it all up. And people were around me going, oh my God, are you okay? Do you know the food's gone? I was like, yes, I know.
The only was we had snacks in the swing bag.
Well, where? What were they?
I'm joking.
Oh. Although I think from now on, I am going to have to carry something in the swing bag. We did at one point carry some.
We have done before, and
long gone.
We did have some food in there, which were your little snacks, but I think they were consumed before that point.
So yeah, gathered all the stuff, went back up to the room, found you there, poised again, mid condom putting on. I was like, fuck my life. Glared at you a few times, and then.
Well, I am sorry. You know that I'm sorry. We've talked about this lots of times, and it's nice to be able to joke about it.
Of course.
Because it has created some wonderfully hilarious memories.
It really has.
But it also has given us food for thought. So,
food?
Yeah, exactly. The irony is, right?
It gets so deep, Mr. H.
Your chief principal source of food is normally me. It's me.
And you were fucking busy. What am I supposed to do? I did try go and gather food myself.
I know you did.
Resourceful, but no.
And I'm sorry. But hence why I was able to struggle out and to find you some Burger King in the middle of the night. Which, was better than nothing.
Poor Uber driver. I don't know what he must have thought. We all piled in there, and I was like, I don't know, ready to stab someone in the back. And the rest of you were just looking at me like, is she okay? Do we talk to her? What do we do?
Well, I think so. There's definitely some stuff that we've learned in this whole process and conversation, hopefully. Yeah. But hopefully there's been some things that you can talk about as well, gentle listener. So what I'd really like to know is if, how much do you give yourselves to your play partners? What is the line for you? Is there a mental line, or have you always just given them everything, and then when you open your eyes or whatever, it's back to your partner? Is that the thing that's there? And does that mean that, that we've all been doing it differently? Who knows? But write in, send us a message, whatever you like, audio message. Send us an audiobook if you fancy. Why not?
Or an owl. No one's sent me an owl yet.
No, that's because they've got no way of getting in. And even if they did, noodles would probably kill it.
They're magic, babe.
Are they?
It's wizarding magic.
Okay.
These are dark times, Harry.
Well, let's wander away from that one. See how that joke slithered in?
Oh my God. we better no, because you're just going to go off and the whole Harry Potter pun thing, and we haven't. No.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, so get in touch. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll have some more announcements about what we've got coming up, and some exciting guests as well in a future episode edition. I keep wanting to say edition. I don't know what that's about.
Like a Smash Hits or something.
Smash Hits edition, yeah. The Christmas annual.
Bumper edition. Maybe thinking back to the days when you used to buy like comics and they'd come with a free toy each week.
You mean like now? Like when I still buy comics and they probably still come with a toy each week? Maybe. Okay, well, thanks very much for listening. Mrs. H, do you want to do your thing?
Well, thank you for hopping into our bed.
Quick, go.
Jesus Christ, I can't do that. You can't just like...
Come on, where's the joke? No, you promised joke of the week.
I did not.
Yes, you did. Joke.
No,
joke.
You can't do that. You can't do that to someone.
You joke.
I've got premature ejaculation. I can't do it. I've got stage fright.
Why have you got stage fright?
Because you've just literally announced it.
Well, I thought you'd prepared a joke.
I don't have a litany of jokes at my immediate mind disposal.
All right. So you got to do the chicken impression.
No. Ooh. You're being foul. You deserve that. Now cluck off.
That joke was excellent.
Oh, come on. Enough is enough.